Welcome back to another Wednesday episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show. Jake and I are back like we are every Wednesday. Today, tons of baseball. We got 7 Milwaukee Brewers games to talk about today, so let's get into it.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
All right, so it is a baseball-heavy Wednesday show for Wisco Fanatics. Now, just a couple things before we start getting into some baseball games and some baseball power pairs. Last night, we discussed the Green Bay Packers offensive picks and what we think their roles are going to be for the 2024 season. This coming Tuesday is going to be our defensive selection. So all of the Packers picks on the defensive side of the ball, that's going to be on Tuesday, the 21st. And then Tuesday, the 28th, that is our next Patreon watch party. So that one will be strictly for the Patreon subscribers. And we will be live with a pregame show, live during the whole game, and live with a postgame show. Mm-hmm. Also on that Patreon, you get to vote for the games that we're going to cover in June, which are now available to choose from. And you'll get to see the early graphics before they get posted on the rest of our social media. So check us out over there. Other than that, we're into more baseball. So we're going to jump into the Brewers. And Jake, give me your power pair and underrated performer. Definitely a lot of good choices this week.
Yes, sir. First of all, what's up, dude? How you doing? Brewers episode just centralized on the Brewers, man, and I'm so excited for it. They deserve it. They're playing really, really good baseball right now. They had an awesome homestand. Can't wait to get into the context of that. But I'm just going to tell you right now, my power pair is William Contreras. I am gatekeeping some stats. I'm going to gatekeep some stats until we get to today's game. Okay. Where it was actually a little bit slower today at work, so I was able to take some more notes on it and be a little bit more centralized on today's game. So I'm going to gatekeep some stats, so stay tuned for that. But with that being said, William Contreras, coming into today, these are his stats. 12 of 26, which is just absurd. That is absurd. He scored 8 runs, 3 doubles, 3 RBIs, 15 total bases, 5 walks, and 5 strikeouts. That is a mouthful.
Ideal. That's better than ideal.
Yeah, that's I couldn't believe when I was writing these numbers. I was like, oh, and then this, and then this, and then I'm like, oh my god, dude, this guy's like kind of good, huh? So that is a 462 average, a 548 on base percentage, a 577 slug, and a 1.125 or 1,000 over 1,000 OPS. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So for power pair pitcher, there was some interesting candidates, I'll say. We had an interesting discussion last night, and we were trying to decide who to pick, and I went with Koenig. He's been kind of up and down. He's been with a few teams, but 2 games for him, 1 win, 4 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, and 4 Ks. He had a 1.00 whip and a 2.25 ERA. Honestly, I told you last night, I'm going to tell everybody else, I took him basically because of a jam he got out of that was some big boy stuff. That right there showed me that he was able to be a big league pitcher and, be in a high leverage situation like that when we needed him. And for my UP, now he just got put in the 10-day IL, so that's pretty sad. But Rhys Hoskins, and he actually said it. Sophia was talking about it today, and I actually felt the same way, that it felt like he was just starting to get going, man. Mm-hmm. And like he had all the homers, and he had some big time hits for us, before this, but it kind of felt like he was starting to hit his groove. And it's the same thing that I kind of felt about Yelich. Like Yelich was on fire on an absolute tear to start the year, but then he got hurt, and it was like, God dang it. And it just, it ended up lingering a little bit longer than people wanted. And also, to your point, bringing up about Blake Perkins, how he was playing so good that it was okay. They could take their time with Yelich, right? Mm-hmm. And hopefully not the same situation happens with Rhys, but hamstrings are tricky, right? Mm-hmm. But with that being said, Rhys Hoskins is my UP, 5 of 14, 2 runs, 2 home runs, big boy home runs, 8 RBIs, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. It's a 357 average, 471 on base percentage, 786 slug, and a 1.256. Again, that means over 1,000 OPS. I mean, he was raking too. The Brewers were playing some offense on this homestand.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Michael asked the question: Contreras extension now or tomorrow needs to
Now.
get done. Honestly, I'm not so much looking to extend him beyond where he's currently under team control because I believe it's through 2027.
Okay.
I would just like to see an extension that takes away his arbitration years.
Yep. Yeah, I'm
So
with that.
essentially sign him to a 3-year extension that goes from 2025 to 2027.
I'm with
That
that.
way you don't have to deal with arbitration. It's all set and done, and you don't have to worry about a handful of dollars here in either direction. It's just everybody knows what the deal is going to be, and that's what it is.
Yep, I'm with that.
So that's how I'm looking at the extension now. Not trying to extend him to like 2029, but just like I said, buying out those remaining arbitration years.
Yep.
So my power pair, I went with Christian Yelich. He was 10 for 19 on the week, 526 batting average, which is nuts. But if you go to just the St. Louis series, he was 7 for 10 in that series. He batted 700 against the Cardinals in that 4-game series.
Man.
He had a walk. He had 2 extra base hits. He scored 4 times out of the 10 times that he was on base, and he's currently on a 5-game hitting streak. And then you get to a game like today, and we'll talk about it. But being able to use, Christian Yelich and then give him a day off and just beat the hell out of the Pirates, and then be like, all right, yeah, we didn't have to use him today at all. So just giving him an extra day. My power pitcher, I am so excited. And Jake and I both made videos. What's up, Brett? Jake and I both made videos about his first start, and we included some of the video. It's a little grainy because it's 2 years old, but Jake and I talking about Robert Gosser and being like, okay, we have to wait and see. We have to be patient, wait to see what we get from him. That's the nature of trading for prospects. You have to wait and see what they're going to do. And Robert Gosser has not disappointed. If anything, he's exceeded expectations.
Yep.
So he made 2 starts in the last week. He's pitched 11 innings, gave up 8 hits, a walk, 6 strikeouts, and only 1 earned run in his first 2 career starts. He is now the first Brewer in franchise history to have wins in his first 2 appearances.
Can I add something?
Go ahead.
8 hits, people are going to hear that and be like, oh, wow, that's a lot. All of them are singles.
That is worth mentioning. And the other thing with that, he's pounding the strike zone.
Yep.
He's pounding the strike zone.
Yep.
He's thrown somewhere in the ballpark of 160 pitches, and he's got 1 walk.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah. Brett said he's only 24. Yeah, I hope he never wears another jersey besides the Brewers jersey.
I agree.
And then for my underrated performer, I also went with a first baseman. Granted, he's been playing a little bit of outfield, but I went with Jake Bauers. Now, since I think it was last Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, was the first day that he went to it, he's gone to a toe tap. I'm going to bring up other players that have done so, and it's paid dividends for them. But Jake Bauers, since last Wednesday, 6 for 12. It's a 500 batting average. What's up, James? A 500 batting average, 8 RBI, 3 walks, 1 triple, 2 homers, stole 2 bases. About 3 weeks ago, when Tyler Black was up, I was like, Jake Bauers is on a short leash unless his power is here. And I'm going to give you a number about his power to demonstrate, what I wanted to see from him. And we are seeing it. So I'm back on the Jake Bauers train. And especially now with Rhys Hoskins being injured, we need him. So that's that. Let's get into the Cardinals series. Let's start with game 1. What stood out to you from the Brewers and Cardinals?
Well, first of all, what a great way to get the homestand started, right? They needed this. This felt like a great way to get the weekend kicked off, right? So Myers is on the bump. He gives us 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned. He did walk 4, but 6 Ks. Koenig comes in for 2 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 earned, and 2 Ks, and he gets out of the bases loaded, no outs jam. I mean, that was some big boy stuff. Got a double play in the inning, which definitely was necessary. But to allow 0 people to score on that is ridiculous in today's game with how good hitters are. And yes, pitchers are good too, but these guys are so good at hitting, man. They can recognize the spin of the ball, where it's going to be placed. They're the best. That's why they're in the majors, right?
Can I give an interjection really quick, just because I want to give you credit on something?
What's up?
last Wednesday, you said that you believed that fans were kind of unfairly criticizing Tobias Myers.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you credit on that because you started a good conversation on that, and I
Mhm.
think Tobias Myers had a nice bounce back despite being in some trouble in the 5th inning. So
Yeah.
he had the 4+ innings pitched,
Mhm.
and the 4 walks really hurt him.
Mhm.
But 3 hits, 1 earned run, and for him to be around 65 to 70 pitches is his sweet spot. I think that's a solid bounce back game for a AAA player who's been thrown into the fire. So I wanted to give you credit for starting that conversation.
Well, appreciate that. But yeah, you mean you gotta set your stand. You can't have the same standards for every single player, and that's a message that we've been trying to tell people for the last couple of years.
Mhm.
And he has to have a different set of standards, and he's pitched very well for the situation he's been put in.
Mhm.
Hobie Milner, scoreless inning, and Vieira, another 2 scoreless innings for him, gave up 2 hits and 3 Ks. But
He touched 100 miles an hour too, which I thought was interesting. It's like, okay, all right.
he did. So I'm gonna leave the hitting for you. Just want to mention that Yelly and Contreras are both 3 or 4, so that's fantastic. But I have some stuff on Sonny Gray, which is why I don't want to be talking for the next 10 minutes. And I'm gonna leave the hitting to you. So Sonny Gray this year has given up 20. This is after the game. 28 hits, 9 earned runs, and 4 home runs. So, and he has not given up a run until this game before the 5th inning of any start that he's had. He gave up a run immediately in the 1st inning of this game. We are the first team to do that to him this year. The Brewers versus Sonny Gray. Now remember, 28, 9, and 4. The Brewers have 12 of the 28. They have 8 of the 9 earned runs, and they are 3 of the 4 home runs.
Wait till you hear what they did to the pitcher today, too.
Oh, I know. I was listening. And you look at his record. His record is 4-2. He's off to a great start. He's a good pitcher. We are
Mhm.
responsible for the 2 in that 4-2. So the Milwaukee Brewers, if you want to complain about their hitting and runners in scoring position or anything else, first of all, you're going to be wrong because you don't know what you're talking about. And second of all, they're just touching everybody, man. I mean, Rhys Hoskins actually talked about it, coming out of this game, that they weren't able to get good swings on his fastball when they faced him in St. Louis. They felt like his fastball was leaning over the plate a little bit more this start first time, and they were able to touch that sucker, and they were able to put it all over the park. So with that being said, why don't you get into it, my man?
So it was funny, and we had this conversation last week. The Brewers were off to a little bit of a slow start in May as far as hitting with runners in scoring position was concerned, and people were freaking out. Oh, we're back to the same old Brewers because of 1 week of May not being as good as the entire month of April.
Yeah.
We're holding equal weight to 1 week versus 4. Like, what are we doing here?
Complaining for no reason.
There needs to be smarter conversations had among Brewers fans. I'm sorry. And I guarantee you it's not everybody. I know it's not. However, the select few that like to bang this drum that everything sucks when everything isn't perfect, they are the louder ones. So those are the people that I'm talking to. And if you are one of the people that likes to refute those people who are just banging the drum saying everything sucks all the time, I am here to reaffirm you. Like I said, I made this promise last week that I am going to do more work during the regular season to help realize that there are things during the regular season that we can look at to say, okay, we can remain more level-headed. So this is one of the things that I'm going to do. It has to be facts over feelings. That's step one. It has to be facts over feelings. I am done letting people slide for saying shit by speaking from their feelings and not fact checking themselves. I made a post in a Brewers group last night because somebody was doing this based on last night's game, and I will give the stats when we get to that game. But this game, it was an immediate improvement in game 1 against the Cardinals on the Brewers hitting with runners in scoring position. James said, "Didn't you know that one loss means the sky is falling?" Yeah. That's usually how it goes. And imagine being a team that's going to win maybe 60 games in a 162 game season. Yeah. Imagine being a team projected to win around 80 games and being on pace for about 92.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. Now, Rhys Hoskins, his home run in the first inning was actually the third hardest hit of the first inning. His home run was slower off the bat than Christian Yelich's single that was 109 miles an hour, and William Contreras' single that was 103 miles an hour.
Well, those two are anomalies, man. They just hit baseballs hard.
Those two are just mashing.
They're on a different level, man.
and yes, Michael, the overwhelming response to the post that I made about it was overwhelmingly positive.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm not letting people slide for it anymore. If people are going to speak from their feelings and then try to talk down to other people, I'm not letting that slide anymore.
Yep.
I'm going to be you want to see a dead body person because I replied with a paragraph to your snarky ass paragraph talking down to people with a bunch of factual statistics that go against what you said because you're just speaking from feelings.
Yeah.
So I'm not letting the everything sucks people control the narrative in social media anymore. When I see it, I'm going to call it out. So, also in this first inning, credit needs to be given to William Contreras for avoiding the tag on, It was, I don't remember whose ground ball it was. Oh, it was Willie Adonis' ground ball.
Yep.
The third baseman tried to tag William Contreras and then make a throw to first. Didn't get the tag on, and then William Contreras was able to get to second base. So that gave the Brewers their first run, which would have scored anyways if he hadn't scored on the wild pitch. But still, 3 runs that inning anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is, again, another one where I'm going to give Jake Bauers credit. I'm going to be patient with Jake Bauers as long as his power is there. And in the bottom of the 8th, another hard hit, and he also hit a home run in this game. So
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with being patient with Jake Bauers. 8 of the 9 starters in this game were on base at least once. 7 runs scored by 6 different players. 5 different players had RBI in this game.
Yeah, so I just want to hit on something real quick because I talked about the fastball. Bauer's homer in the bottom of the 2nd was a first pitch fastball. Ortiz homer in the bottom of the 4th was a first pitch fastball. Both of them went 400 plus feet. So that's something to look for. The Brewers this year, man, their approach at the plate is just something beautiful, man. I don't know. I might just try to start a conversation in the comment section here, but honestly, their approach and their adjustments during the game is something that we're honestly not used to the last couple of years. I mean, guys are going up there swinging early, guys are taking pitches, and they're changing it mid-game. I mean, we saw it on the last Patreon episode where we faced Kansas City, and we both pointed it out that Kansas City changed their approach, and we also changed our approach, and it was just like, yeah, that's something that we're noticing that the casual is not really going to notice. So I just wanted to give them credit for that, man. I think that's a beautiful thing.
I'm going to have a stat for you later on, too, as far as home runs and stolen bases are concerned, that's going to reaffirm that. So, the different approaches. So, the last thing I wanted to say on game 1 is that the way that they've been using Joey Ortiz is working, so I'm not going to complain about it.
Oh, weird. I was right about that, too. Oh, weird.
Nicely done. All right, let's go to game 2. Game 2, what's up to you from Brewers Cardinals game 2?
What a game, dude. What a Saturday, dude. Honestly, I used an entire page for just this game because I was just so excited and so happy to write down the stats for this one. So we used 2 pitchers, and I'm only going to talk about one.
Yeah, that's
one
fair.
that matters. Gasser. I'm not really sure how you guys feel about it, what you want me to call him.
I'm annoyed about it. I'll say that because I called him Gasser when they traded for him. Everybody was calling him Gasser. Then I got used to calling him Gasser, and now everybody's calling him Gasser. So.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Schroeder called him Gasser a few times today, but I'm going to call him Gasser. I think that sounds better. But 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned, 0 walks, 4 Ks. Also, go watch Tyler and I's breakdown of his game. I think we did some good stuff there. Tyler put in a lot of work putting that collage together, and then I just talked over it, so didn't do as much.
Ruined it. Got it.
Right. So I just want to give credit to the Brewers offense. I think they did an absolutely tremendous job. Now, Gasser was shutting down the Cardinals for 4 innings, or 3 innings, 4 innings, and the offense picked him up. And they scored a lot of runs. And they scored a lot of runs today when he was on the mound, too. So the Brewers have this weird thing going this year where they like to score. They used to not be able to score at all on left-handed pitchers, especially starters. And now when they have left-handed starters, they just decide to score a bunch of runs. I don't know what that is because they were doing it for Dale Hall, too.
That's true. That's true. That's fair.
So Yelly got an RBI. Adames got 2. Bowers got 2. Hoskins got 2. Terang got 1. And Frelick got 2. And of those RBIs, Hoskins, one of his 2 RBIs was for 2 outs. Terang, Bowers, one of his. Adames, and Yelly, all with 2 outs. These guys were raking 7 RBIs with 2 outs. 8 for 15 runners in scoring position. They can't hit with runners in scoring position. And stolen bases. Oh, I had to do that, dude. I was thinking about it when I was going to say it. Yelly, Bowers, and Terang all got stolen bases. Adames with 3 doubles, dude. 3 doubles from Willie Adames. He's
That'll
up to 10. He got one off of every pitcher that pitched for the Cardinals, by the way.
That'll play.
Every single one. Contreras and Terang also had doubles. They both got them off of Lance Lynn. So we get into the scoring here. Hoskins singled to left. Contreras scored on error. And Yelly, great IQ by Yelly, dude, to see that Nootbaar fumbled the bag out there in left field, and he was able to run the bases. Nobody runs the bases better than Christian Yelich. It's going to be smooth. No, people are faster. Yeah. I want people to listen. People are faster, but nobody runs the bases as crisp as Christian Yelich. So just wanted to
strides are perfect. He cuts the base as well. He rounds.
He's perfect, dude.
Mama Mia.
So we get to the bottom of the 5th. Now, I'm about to talk for a second here, but this is all with 2 outs, dude. This is ridiculous.
I have it written down too.
Terang double. Bowers ends up scoring. Game is 3-0. Yelly reaches on a bunt single. Literally the most perfect bunt single I've ever seen in my entire life. You can't do it that perfectly on the Wii, and I don't give a shit what you have to say. Terang scores. It's 4-0. Adames doubles the right. Yelly and Contreras score. Adames gets the third. It's on a throwing error. It's 6-0. Then Hoskins reaches on an infield single. Adames scores 7-0. That is all with 2 outs. All of that nonsense happened with 2 outs. That is ridiculous. So the game
went double, walk, single, double, single. Scored 4 runs.
just absolutely bonkers. The Cardinals get a run from a double. It's 7-1. Bottom of the 7th, Frelick singles the center. Adames and Contreras score. Cherio to third. It's 9-1. Bowers tripled the center, which is wild to say out loud, by the way. Cherio and Frelick score. It's 11-1. We're all laughing in our lounge chairs on Saturday night. The Cardinals got a homer in the top of the 9th to make it 11-2. Now, one last thing I'm going to talk about, and I'm sure you heard this stat today if you watched the game. Gosser walked none, hit 1 batter, and became just the 5th Brewer ever to throw at least 6 shutout innings in his debut. The others were Jim Slayton in 1974, Steve Woodward in 1997. Oh, God, I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Chris Sayazin in 2004, and obviously Brandon Woodruff in 2017. But, man, Saturday, great day.
Yeah, fantastic. Looking at Robert Gosser, like I said, Jake said it too, that we broke down his start, each of us individually. So there's 2 Robert Gosser breakdowns that you can find on our page if you scroll down a little bit.
Yep.
For me, looking at it, his slider, which apparently they've decided to call a sweeper, looked fantastic. He threw 79 pitches and 6 scoreless innings, only gave up 2 hits, obviously 0 walks and the 4 strikeouts. He gave up 2 singles pretty early in the game. Was in the 2nd and the 3rd innings. He gave up 2 singles. After that, he retired 11 of the next 12 batters, and the only one he didn't was a hit by pitch. His control was fantastic in his first start. And there's some really, really good stuff in our breakdowns. But one of my things was he gets to an at-bat in the 6th inning where he throws 4 different pitches to 1 batter, and he is just up there guessing what Robert Gosser is going to throw him next. And he's just chopping at stuff, just like doing whatever he can to put the bat on the ball just to try to stay alive.
Yeah.
Gosser, I think he was feeling himself.
Oh,
he's calm and collected, but he's like, bro, I'm going to throw him a changeup. I've thrown 4. This is going to be my 4th changeup, and I'm throwing him one. So, Gosser, I can't say enough good things about his debut.
Yeah, agreed.
And then looking at it, there needs to be some credit given to Kevin Herget.
Yeah.
For him to pitch the final 3 innings, and obviously the run support is a big deal with this, him being able to pitch the final 3 innings of the game saves the bullpen.
It does.
Anytime you can have that, that is helpful.
Yep.
And then looking at this game as a whole, the Brewers had all of the top 5 exit velocities in this game. And they're hitting the ball better because they're seeing the ball better. I've said this before, and I'm going to continue saying it. Exit velocity to me is an important measure of how well you're seeing the ball, because it means if you're hitting the ball hard, you're squaring the ball up, which now Major League Baseball has statistics on how often the ball is being squared up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mark of being able to put the sweet spot of the bat on the ball. That is why I care about exit velocity.
I would take exit velocity as a more important stat than batting average. And I know that's going to sound absolutely insane to some people, but think about Willy Adames. You know, he got robbed of a home run late in the game today, and I'm not trying to jump too far ahead, but he's been robbed of a couple big-time hits, and he squares the ball up a lot, and he's been hitting it hard, but, you know, he could have 11, 12 home runs pretty easily this year already.
I would say if you're looking at guys, I could see the case for saying that you are probably more easily able to pick out good hitters based on their hard hit percentage than their batting average.
Yeah, like Adames' stats are a little bit skewed because he does hit the ball hard all the time. Just sometimes he gets unlucky.
Let me throw a different statistic out there. I believe Baseball Savant has it for sure, and I think Fangraphs has it. They have an XBA, so they have an expected batting average. I'm 1,000% positive that Willy Adames is much higher than his actual batting average.
Yep, I agree.
And that just goes to show, you know, essentially what defense can do to your batting average. And like I said to some people on the interwebs today, there are more statistics than just batting average, and people need to move beyond it. And I'm going to come back to it when we get to today's game, because there's somebody else that I want to talk about it with as well. So let's go to game 3 of the Cardinal series. What stood out to you from that one?
So what stood out to me is the Brewers just keep slapping the living hell out of the St. Louis Cardinals, and it's so fun to watch because we had to watch them have 3 guys beat the hell out of us for how many years, you know, when we were kids with Poolhouse and Wainwright, you know. I mean, that was just not great times for us. But, you know, the Brewers were actually pretty respectable still. But, you know, Peralta was on the mound for this one. He went 6 innings, gave up 8 hits. 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and 8 Ks. So, I mean, did his job, won 6 innings. I expect him to he did get the walks down from his last start, so that's a great thing. Hobie Milner pitched good in this one, only giving up 1 hit, had 1 K. Hudson as well, 2 Ks for him, 1 hit in his inning of work. And Trevor McGill got the save. 1 inning pitch, 2 hits, and 0 Ks, but gets the job done. So you get to the bottom of the 3rd. Bowers gets hit by a pitch for his 17th RBI of the year, and the Brewers are up 1-0. Contreras moves to 2nd, Perkins to 3rd, right? Then that was the only run scored in that inning. We're up 1-0.
Yep.
Top of the 5th, Nootbaar gets a 2-run single. The Cardinals are up 2-1. Top of the 6th, Gorman gets a double, putting the Cardinals up 3-1. That was the last Cardinals were going to score. In case you didn't watch this game, I'm just going to tell you right now. Bottom of the 6th, and this is the mark of a good baseball team, when you can respond in the bottom half of your inning with a run after giving up a run. It was a 2-run lead for the Cardinals, and Sanchez gets hit by a pitch, and the Brewers score a run. They get 3-2. Adames scored on that, and the first 2 runs for the Brewers were hit by a pitch. And I heard them say a stat, first team since, you know, blah, 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 to score your first 2 runs and hit by a pitch. I didn't get the year, and I apologize.
I think it was 2019.
2019? Okay.
Not positive, but I think that's what it was.
But, you know, our first 2 runs were, you know, by hit by pitch. So then get to the bottom of the 7th, and Hoskins just decides to golf a baseball 400 feet, which is insane to me. Contreras and Bowers scored on it, and Contreras got on because he walked, and then Bowers hit a single to get Contreras to 3rd base, so we had 1st and 3rd, and Hoskins found himself down 0-2. There was a slider looking and a sinker that he hit foul, so he was down 0-2, has to choke up on the bat, right? First pitch after that, slider, ball 1, right? Now, okay, we're working back into the count. Ball 2 is a 4-seamer. All right, we're back to even. We're doing this thing, right? Ball 3 is a sinker. Now he has to throw you a pitch. He don't want to load those puppies. Slider, 89, bottom of the zone. And I'm going to tell you right now, Hoskins didn't miss that son of a bitch. He powered that baby to right center field to give the Brewers, first of all, an amazing moment because this game was on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
That call was incredible. And I was like, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So here's the thing, right? So this is the pitch that he hits out. This number 6 down here, the blue
Yeah.
one. That's not a bad pitch.
No.
that's a good pitch, dude. Like if he takes it, it's ball 4. But if you see that ball is in play, you're expecting like, okay, it's probably a ground out. Maybe it hits off the end of the bat and it drops in for a single somewhere.
Right.
Nope, just 407 dead center. All right, sick.
Yeah, and the thing about it is he talked about it after the game and he said, yeah, I just caught a little bit too much of the plate. I'm like, dude, it was at your fucking shoelaces. What are you doing?
Across the shins.
But,
I was just looking for something in the middle of the plate. I mean, it was in the middle.
It was in the middle of the plate. So, I mean, just good stuff from him. I said big boy homers, and that was the biggest one of the week. So, great job.
This is the thing. Michael said it's not a guaranteed ball 4. That is absolutely true. And I was annoyed in the first 3 innings of today's game too. I'm ready for some robotic umpires.
At least start, freaking do it a little bit, like test it out, test run. That's the word I'm looking for.
And I keep saying this, give me the AAA ball strike challenge rule, please.
Well, they do that one like cool venue game every year. I think this year it's between like the White Sox and the Cardinals or whatever. I know the Cardinals are playing in it, but they do like that cool venue game where like they play at like some little ballpark or some
like the Field of Dreams thing.
Yeah. Maybe do it there. It's only one game, right? So you're doing like a cool, random game. Maybe test it out.
My only thing with that is that that's a regular season game. So if you're changing the rules for one game, that's kind of you're asking teams to be like, okay, here you go. Here's one game that hope you don't care about.
I think both teams entering it kind of sucks. So
but I mean, you're looking at asking 2 teams to make 1 out of 162 a completely different strategy of baseball.
I know what you're saying. I agree.
So I think spring training is the place to test it out.
All right.
So I'll say that. Looking at this game from my perspective, you mentioned Freddie Peralta. Yes, he gave up 3 runs. However, you mentioned he got the walks down, which is important. But he had a lot of soft contact and some St. Louis devil magic go against him.
Yeah.
So when it comes to something like exit velocity, if the Cardinals are having a bunch of like soft, just slap, 69, 75 mile an hour balls that are just finding grass or rolling through in between fielders and stuff like that, I'm not going to bang my fists on my desk and be like, why is Freddie Peralta giving up runs? Baseball. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Freddie Peralta is going to make 33 starts this year. He's going to have some where some soft contact stacks up against him and he gives up 3 runs. He's also going to have, I'm betting you, multiple games this year where he goes 7 innings, has double-digit strikeouts, and nobody gets past second base on him.
And then me and you are going to fight to see who can get him for power play pitcher that week.
Exactly. And I'm going to bring out the Freddie K graphic again.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Michael said the AAA rules as soon as possible. I think I'm actually going to write an article on that because it's something, it's time. Especially with as bad as umpires have been the first quarter of the season.
Yeah.
In this game, William Contreras extended his on-base streak to 19, which continues through today. Spoiler alert. And he was on base 3 more times with a double and 2 walks. And then last thing, Christian Yelich. So this was a Christian Yelich scheduled day off. Now, Pat Murphy hinted at this, and Rhys Hoskins was up to bat with runners on second and third and first base open. Jackson Churrio's on deck. Still struggling at this time. This isn't today's Jackson Churrio. This is Saturday's Jackson Churrio.
Mm-hmm.
The Cardinals chose to pitch to Rhys Hoskins with the threat of Christian Yelich being put in for Jackson Churrio. Yeah. Pat Murphy, he didn't say that he was going to put Christian Yelich in that situation, but he said that the Cardinals might have thought that he was going to put Christian Yelich in that situation, and he said they might have been right. So that, again, if you don't think Christian Yelich has any value, the Cardinals being afraid of him literally put Rhys Hoskins in a position to hit the game-winning home run, essentially.
Yeah.
And good job by Rhys Hoskins for doing so.
Agreed.
So that's essentially what I had from Game 3. Now we can talk about Game 4. What stood out to you from this one?
So this hurts because, well, you know what? I take that back. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. We just ragged on the Cardinals for how long, right? I got to give him credit. Got to give him credit.
6 out of 7 times. It's almost like letting your little brother win one just so that he keeps playing.
Yeah, I get. It's a great analogy. Great analogy. Because I believe we were up to 9 straight going back to last season. I guess
Something like that. I was only keeping
9.
track of 2024 that we were 6-0 against them, and now we're 6-1. Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no. But I got to give him credit because after the first inning, I mean, the Brewers put 3 on the board. The Cardinals could have mailed it in after absolutely getting their face bashed in, the last 3 games. And they didn't. They really held the offense down after the first inning. This is one of those games, like you said, it's one of 162 where it's just kind of like, all right, we won the series. We got 3 out of 4. We're going to, chalk this one up. I mean, sucks to lose on Mother's Day. The Brewers actually went into this game with the highest winning percentage in MLB history on Mother's Day. So, it is what it is, but the Brewers still did their thing. They were still competitive. I mean, Sanchez got an RBI, Hoskins RBI, Ortiz got an RBI. We only had 4 chances, 4 at-bats with runners in scoring position. We were 1 for 4 in there. Sanchez was the hit. He singled the left. Adames scored, and Hoskins was thrown out at home. So I wanted to bring that up, that specific play, because again, and I'm gonna piggyback off you, my man. You talked about it last week. People complaining about getting thrown out at home, and I saw a bunch of people. And Sam Decker, sorry, got to call you out, Sam Decker. Got to call you out by name because you're a big boy name. He said Jason Lane consistently sending our slowest runners to get thrown out at home is a hilarious mistake. And I just want to tell you, if you're going to go for it and you're going to be aggressive, that bleeds through the whole team. I don't care. We're not playing this situational bullshit. See you later, Michael. Sorry to see you leave, man. I have some great stuff coming up. I know Tyler does too. I don't usually talk for people, but I can guarantee Tyler has good stuff coming up.
I have a fun facts page. Spoiler alert.
Fun facts page. Let's get that. But people complaining about Hoskins getting thrown out. I mean, can we stop? Do you want the Brewers to score runs and be aggressive or not? I mean, pick a side, really. That's all I got.
Question needs to be answered. That wasn't rhetorical. That question needs to be answered.
Yeah.
And I think we should put that out there.
Yeah.
Because sure, there's times where it's like, okay, it didn't make sense in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
But like you just said, and it's a totally fair thing to say, is it bleeds through the whole team.
Yeah.
If you're going to be aggressive, be aggressive. And you got to live with the consequences of being aggressive.
Yeah.
If being aggressive worked 100% of the time, everybody would do it.
True.
There's pros and cons to every type of strategy, whether it's being aggressive or whether it's being conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you might not make as many outs on the bases if you're conservative. You also might not score as much. You might not, go as many feet on the bases. You might go 90 feet shorter at times. But we have seen tons of times the Brewers manufacture runs by doing things like stealing bases, by taking extra bases when they can, going first to third on hits to opposite fields. Like things like that, they do count. Just because not all of them score runs doesn't mean they're not important.
Agreed.
And again, I'm going to come back to another stat, and I'm going to get there. But this game, I've gone back and forth with some people on Bryce Wilson who are saying that his walks are a problem. And to that point, I have to ask whether it's a problem that he's getting a lot of walks, whether it's a problem that they're driving up his pitch count, or whether it actually affects the game. Because it obviously affects the game. But what I'm saying is that looking at his output, yes, you'd like to see him go deeper into games. He's also been a reliever for the last year and a half.
You're right.
His walk percentage is up about 4% from 2023, but he's not giving up astronomical amounts of runs.
No, he's
So
not.
that's where I don't think that it's necessarily a quote problem. Like, it's an opportunity for him to improve. It's an opportunity for him to keep his pitch count down and maybe go another inning in the game. But it's
Do
not something that's costing the Brewers wins.
you know what this is, Tyler? This is a picture perfect example. And as you're explaining it, it's just becoming more and more clear. It's one of those situations where people are going to talk about it now. So then later, if they end up losing a game because Bryce Wilson walked a guy and he ended up scoring and the Brewers lose a game that they really need, they could be like, I was saying this back in May.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those situations where they want to be right about something that's negative. That's exactly what it is.
It's a justification, I guess, is what I'll say. So looking at it,
Yeah.
Bryce Wilson has made 4 starts.
Mm-hmm.
He's pitched 4, 6, 6, and 4 1/3 innings. He's had 5, 3, 2, 3 walks. Sounds like a lot of walks. That's 13 walks in 4 games. It's an average of 3 a game on an average of about, call it 5 innings a game.
Yeah.
So you're getting about 5 innings and 3 walks.
Mm-hmm.
Here are his earned runs in those 4 games. 2, 0, 1, 2. He's given up 5 runs so you're essentially getting, on average, about 5 innings of 1-run ball and 3 walks. I don't give a shit how many walks he's giving up if the other team is not scoring off of them. If he's giving up 4 walks a game and 4 earned runs a game, and 3 of those 4 earned runs are coming off of walks, then it's a problem.
Yep. Then there's a direct correlation. I agree with that. That's great work.
So right now, it's an opportunity for him to improve. It's not a problem. Because like I said, again, it's not costing the Brewers wins. Sure, the Brewers did lose this game. However, Bryce Wilson gave up 2 earned runs in 4 innings.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's putting you in a position to lose.
No.
Just because he had 5 walks. Now, I went and looked to try to find some actual statistics on Bryce Wilson to try to look where he could get better. So looking at his season, he is pitching a career high 52.6% of his pitches in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, not that he's throwing pitches outside the zone. Now, he's getting a second lowest of his career 23.7% chase percentage. So that could be a factor into him.
Mm-hmm.
In his career, this is one of the lowest seasons of opponents chasing pitches. So if he's used to guys chasing more pitches and he's used to being able to throw outside the zone a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
that's just an adjustment. It's not a problem. That's an opportunity to make an adjustment.
Yep.
So the 2 pitches that I'm looking are, 1, his fastball. The weighted on base average against his fastball is 370. That's a little high for an on base percentage. And he has a 276 batting average against his fastball. That's an opportunity. I think he can get that a little bit lower if you're talking about being a really, really good pitcher. So the run value against his fastball is -3. It's not a back-breaking number, but it's an opportunity to improve.
Yeah.
Now, I think his curveball could be a little bit better, but I think he's been a little more unlucky than bad with his curveball. The weighted on base average is 340, and the expected is 316.
Mm.
So that's where I think he's been a little bit unlucky.
Okay.
Now, in 80 pitches this game, he threw 34 balls. That's high. That's 42.5% of his pitches that he threw were balls. On the season, it's 23.7.
Mm.
So, again, I'm going to say that this game is a little bit more of an outlier.
I'm with that.
Also, of his 80 pitches, only 9 were called strikes. That's 11.25%. So the 46 strikes were 37 of them were pitches that were swung at. And then looking at it, the opponent swing percentage against Bryce Wilson is the lowest of his career, and he's got a decent whiff percentage that fills up basically all of the conglomeration of everything he's doing on the mound.
Oh, what a word. What a word.
Got you.
Nicely done.
So, opportunity for Bryce Wilson, not something that we need to be like, no, he needs to be gone or whatever. I will say I do think Bryce Wilson, I think he could be put back to the bullpen. I think it would help the bullpen. And I think a guy like Tobias Myers could stay in the rotation just a little while longer until a guy like DL Hall is ready. He's going to be making a start for the Timber Rattlers next week. So DL Hall is on the horizon. So maybe move Bryce Wilson back to the bullpen, have Tobias Myers make one more start, keep Robert Gosser in the rotation, and let's go.
I think you could put Myers with Wilson together. You know, since Myers is only going 3-4, you can have Wilson, you know, go 3-4 innings as well. That's, you know, kind of like they did with the bullpen days, kind of mirror those two together. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not against that at all. I wanted to give Christian Yelich some credit. He was 2 for 3 with a walk this game. He was on base 3 more times. He really owned the Cardinals in this series.
He did.
And then I want to talk about plate discipline, and I want to actually, unfortunately, give some credit to the Cardinals pitcher, Miles Mikolas. Now, the Brewers' plate discipline in the first inning, very good. Mikolas threw a career-high 42 pitches in the first inning. Looking like a short day for him, gave up 3 runs. However, he threw just 53 pitches over the next 5 innings. So what changed for Miles Mikolas? In the first inning, he threw 42 pitches, 26 strikes, 16 balls. In the next 4 innings, he threw 37 strikes and 16 balls.
Oof.
So he locked in. That's credit to Miles Mikolas. He locked in. He found his command. The Brewers weren't chasing. They did only have 4 swing and misses against Mikolas, who finished with just 3 strikeouts out of the 18 outs that he recorded. But out of the 95 pitches that he threw, the Brewers watched 56 go by.
What?
So Miles Mikolas had 24 called strikes compared to 9 by Bryce Wilson. That's basically 25% of his total of pitches were called strikes.
Wow,
I know I've suggested this previously on the show, on our watch party last Tuesday. The Brewers just need to swing more.
Yeah.
Especially at pitches in the zone. You're talking 24 pitches that were in the strike zone that were called strikes that weren't swung at.
Wow.
I'm gonna stand on it. The Brewers just need to swing the bat more.
Yeah.
Which is gonna annoy people because they want to talk about Freddie Pro or Willie. One more time, Willie Adames just swinging at everything. Facts over feelings. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, you ready for a little bit of fun facts before we get into the Pirates series?
So
I collected all these numbers on Monday before the first game against the Pirates, and I used tons of them. I was collecting tons of statistics when Major League Baseball came out with their new bat speed splits that you can have now. And I put a ton of them into a William Contreras video. However, I found a ton of other statistics that I really would like. Oh, okay, that's interesting. About other players on the Brewers roster, not named William Contreras, that, you know, I could have made individual videos for all of them, but I'm like, you know what? I'll just have a fun facts page for Wednesday. So that said, Blake Perkins, out of, this is balls that are squared up. So squared up contact is the sweet spot of the bat that is 4 to 9 inches from the end of the bat. That's where Major League Baseball is defining the sweet spot. Blake Perkins is number 1 in all of baseball in the percentage of his contact that is squared up.
Wow, it's actually impressive.
So Blake Perkins, swing the bat more. When you make contact, good things happen.
All right.
Willie Adames. He's number 9 in baseball in on-base percentage with 2 strikes. So when he's down with 2 strikes in the count, he's number 9 in baseball and getting on base. He's also second on the team in stolen bases with 7 going into Monday, which is like, all right, that's weird and it's not going to last, but it's true now, so it's going into fun facts. Joey Ortiz, his 19.2 strikeout percentage, that's not bad, under 20%. I'll take that. His walk percentage is 14.1%. He is 5% away from having more walks than strikeouts in Major League Baseball. He's in the 93rd percentile in Major League Baseball in walk rate.
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie.
Wow.
He's doing great things. I am 1000% on board with the way the Brewers are using him right now
I
because
could
it's
not agree
resulting
more.
in only good things for Joey Ortiz.
Yep, could not agree more.
However, they're going to continue using him. Keep using him that way if he's performing well. Don't change anything. Just keep having him play like 2 out of 3 days and subbing him in on the other one.
Yeah, please don't listen to the comment section on Facebook.
Yeah. You want Christian Yelich next or Bryce Terang?
Yelich.
Christian Yelich, his strikeout percentage entering Monday is 17.5%. That is easily his career low. Yes, it is 63 plate appearances, but his chase percentage is on par with his career. So his career chase percentage is pretty much the same on where he is with 2024.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is Christian Yelich focusing on making contact with 2 strikes. That he's not chasing with 2 strikes, that he's striking out less while essentially chasing the same number of pitches. Christian Yelich is also slugging 1.182, 1182 versus breaking balls.
Whew.
That's
Hammering
nuts. Curveballs, sliders, sweepers. He has an 1182 slugging percentage against them.
If you're hitting the breaking balls, I can understand why he's hitting so good this year, because then you can just kind of sit on the fastball and adjust to it. So I like it.
Yeah, the only thing he's really struggling against are like splitters and changeups, the off-speed stuff. That's what he's struggling against. But again, if you're mashing everything else, there's people really got it. There's nothing to complain about.
In my opinion, changeup is the best pitch in baseball. That's just my opinion.
It's the hardest thing to adjust to if you're sitting fastball, to be like, oh shit, that one's going 5 miles an hour slower.
Yeah,
when you're looking for a fastball.
Yeah, which we're gonna have some conversations about today's game. We talk about changeups, but
last thing on Christian Yelich, he's pulling 47.7% of his hits. That's his career high by almost 12%.
Wow.
So he's just like, okay, I pull for power. I'm just going to pull.
Interesting.
And we know he's capable of using the opposite field, but
yep.
I mean, there's something to be said about just going where the pitch is taking you, which is an adjustment that William Contreras has made, and obviously Bryce Terang as well. Because I'm here now to get to all-star Bryce Terang. Bryce Terang is going to be an all-star.
Dude, the Brewers have at least 2.
He is number 7 in all of baseball in batting average with 2 strikes. Number 7 in baseball.
Yep.
That's not just NL. All of baseball. He's number 7 in batting average with 2 strikes. He has a .395 on-base percentage with the bases empty when he's not leading off. So if he's not batting leadoff, he's just starting an inning with the bases empty, or if 1 out, 2 out, and bases empty. .395 on-base percentage. He's second in Major League Baseball in steals, and he has the 10th fewest strikeouts of qualified players. So I believe that's players with a minimum of, I think it's 3 at-bats per game, per team game.
Okay.
That's how that works at the end of the season. You have to have like a minimum. It's like 500 plate appearances, which is, it works out to about that. So out of qualified players with enough at-bats, he is 10th fewest in strikeouts.
Good things.
Great things. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been Fun Facts.
Love fun facts.
All right. Let's go to the Pirates. Let's go to Monday's game. Thankfully, with the Pirates, we get the ugly one out of the way, and then we can talk about 2 good ones.
I was just going to say that, man. I was like, we are bad news first kind of people, man. So This is great for us. This is a perfect series for us in our eyes. If we're going to lose one, then let's just lose one, right? This one also made my record prediction wrong. So, oh well.
Nailed it.
We won more than we lost. So it is what it is. I'm fine.
Dude, win series. 2 out of 3 gets you 104 wins on the season.
Yep, that's all we want. And we took 3 out of 4 from the Cardinals, 2 out of 3 from the Pirates. So it is what it is, man. I'm happy.
I'll go 5-2 every 7 games.
Yeah, 100%. Never mind. I'm not going to get into it right now. Colin Ray, just in my opinion, he didn't have his A+ stuff. He was okay, but this was one of those games where people will complain about Colin Ray, and I still don't think that they have the right to do it because he's been better than advertised.
Nope.
6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and 5 Ks. I mean, that's a decent line. Honestly, you're giving your team a chance to win. The 3 earned runs in 6 innings, you're giving your team a chance to win. You should be able to score more than 3 runs. But the Brewers found themselves down 5-0. Going into the bottom of the 7th, Adames hit his 11th double of the year. Contreras scored, and Monasterio scored. Jesus. Contreras got on base by hitting a single, so he got himself on. And Monasterio hit for Terang and got a walk. So got the Brewers to 5-2. Bottom of the 8th. Now, Perkins singles and a 2-1 count, gets on base. Sanchez singles with a 2-1 count, gets on base. Ortiz gets on base because of a fielder's choice and error by O'Neill Cruz. Bases are loaded. There's nobody to put Jake Bauers. So you know what Jake Bauers does? He puts a ball over the fence. And it was electric. Absolutely crushed this baseball. Got the Brewers within a run. The Pirates, who the heck was it? Had 5 hits in the game. Cannot remember his name. He's Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds had 5 hits in the game, hit a home run.
He's on the top for a reason.
Yeah, he's a Brewers killer too. But, you know, he hit a home run and kind of put the game out of reach. But it is what it is. Bauers' grand slam was a fun moment. They gave the Brewers a chance to come back from behind and try to get a win, but it is what it is, man. They took an L today, or that day.
Monday. Yeah, so I mean, listen, nobody likes losing.
No.
That's just a fact of life. But, you know, as often as we say, it's just one of 162. I really wanted to try to think of other ways to remain level-headed than just saying, you know, we can always play tomorrow, because when we get to the playoffs, that's not always going to be the case.
True.
So while, yes, there's still months and months and months left of baseball, but you're not going to win every single game, whether it's the regular season, whether it's the postseason.
Yeah.
But unless you are something like the Oakland A's, there's going to be a next season. So nothing is this, you know, huge catastrophic failure. Like, just laugh at the A's catching strays or what?
That was well done, dude.
It's there just needs to be some level-headedness developed while we're in the regular season. So if you can't be level-headed during the regular season, you're not going to be it during the postseason. And this was the conversation I had last week when we were discussing Game 6 of the Bucks. So I wanted to throw that out there. Just try to remain level-headed during losses in the regular season. It will better prepare you for losses in the postseason, should the Brewers be there, should the Brewers lose in the postseason. Because here's the bottom line. And yes, I would love it if the Brewers just won every single game in the postseason and didn't have to lose any. But that's just not the reality of what is likely to happen should the Brewers make the playoffs. 29 out of 30 teams in Major League Baseball are not going to win the World Series. That's a pretty large number. The Brewers are much more likely to be one of the 29 than the 1. Then again, so are all 30 of the Major League Baseball teams are more likely to be one of the 29 than they are to be the 1. So we need to develop better attitudes towards losing during the regular season, where there are more games to be played, so that when we get to the postseason, we can be like, okay, we've lost games before. We can remain level-headed and not just burn the city down and want everybody traded or fired because we're mad today on October 10th.
Right.
So there was a lot of hard contact by the Brewers in the second inning. There was a 93.3 mile an hour lineup by Willie Adames, a 96.4 mile an hour single by Rhys Hoskins, a 94.2 mile an hour double by Joey Ortiz, and a 99.1 mile an hour lineup by Jake Bauers. So the Brewers still hitting the ball hard over the course of the season. Law of averages, law of large numbers, those balls are going to do good things for you.
Yeah.
Just because they didn't today doesn't mean they're never going to. Which is something you can say about runners in scoring position. Just because they didn't today doesn't mean they're never going to. Just because the Brewers got off to a slow start with runners in scoring position in May doesn't mean that they're not going to be successful like they were in April. So, I will say Colin Ray had a better start than his last game. He was able to give the Brewers 6 innings pitched with 3 earned runs. That can give you a chance to win. 6 innings pitched and 3 earned runs. Even if you're down 3-0 after 6 innings, you still have a chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
If you load the bases and have a guy that went over the fence, that would put you in the lead.
Yeah.
However, 5 earned runs by the bullpen is tough. Like I said, I'm perfectly fine with presenting the idea of keeping Robert Gossler in Major League Baseball, having DL Hall back and moving Bryce Wilson back to the bullpen to help the bullpen a little bit.
I agree.
William Contreras, ho-hum, 3 for 5, like he does. Joey Ortiz had 2 more hits. You mentioned Andrew Monasterio had the 1 walk. He actually had 2 walks, so credit to Andrew Monasterio's plate discipline.
Yep.
And then, lastly, I told you I'd have more on Jake Bauers for you. So Jake Bauers, his power is coming into play, is crucial for his spot on the roster. Now, he's going to get a little bit more leash than I'm already going to give him, in my opinion, which is now back to essentially, square one. And I have a reason for that. I'll give him even a little bit more because of the injury to Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah.
But the last time I checked on his power, this was right around the time that Tyler Black was coming up, he was at 2.8% on his home run rate. I said we needed him around the 4.4% mark that he had last year with the Yankees. That's essentially why the Brewers signed him, to be a power bat.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's at exactly 4.4%. So I'm on square one with Jake Bauers.
I'm with it.
So I'm not either, super we need to get rid of him or super he needs to stay. I'm right back to, okay, I see why the Brewers signed him. Let's see what he does. So I'm good with Jake Bauers. He's also hitting 18% more line drives than last season and 19% fewer ground balls. So Jake Bauers, he's doing good things. He has a 356 batting average on balls in play. That's BABIP if you like to throw the stat name for it, but it's batting average on balls in play. He's got a 356 BABIP, and he also recently switched to a toe tap, like I said when I made him my underrated performer. 2 other players that did that to great success. 1, last year, Christian Yelich went to a toe tap. He was borderline an all-star last season. 2, Bryce Terang, going to be an all-star this season. From last year to this year, Bryce Terang went from a leg kick to a toe tap, and he has not looked back. He's been fantastic so far this season. Like I said, he's going to be an all-star. It's not he might be an all-star. Bryce Terang is going to be an all-star.
He should be. If he's not, that's a huge snub.
If he's not an all-star, I'm going to lose my shit because he's an all-star. He is a star.
I agree.
Okay. Let's talk about last night's game. What's about you from last night? Besides,
so I'm gonna leave the pitching to you because you told me last night about some great stuff that you thought of, and yes, this was the Sal Frelick game.
Oh man, it was the Sal Frelick game. So
he had not 1 but 2 web gems. Okay, yeah. And he also had not 1 but 2 RBIs.
Yeah.
So he got the scoring started with his first homer of the year. Went 365 feet. Ortiz got on base by hitting his 6th double of the year. 2-0 Brewers, right? Terang then singles to left. Oliver Dunn scores. He got on base with a single. Churriel to third. Churriel got on base with a single. It's 3-0. Yelly single to center. Churriel ends up scoring. Terang to third. 4-0 Brewers. And that's all the runs they needed, people. That's all the runs they needed. They decided just to score, get 6 hits and 4 runs in the bottom of the second, and they're just like, you know what? I think we could shut them down today. But in all seriousness, the credit to the Pirates. Sorry, I got tongue-tied there for a second over not saying a single word. I don't even know how I got tongue-tied, but it happened. Top of the 4th, homer from Gonzalez. Joe scores with a 2-run shot, got the game to 4-2. And then Joe ended up hitting his own homer on the top of the 9th to make it 4-3, just so we sweat and get a 1-run win. And, it is what it is. The Brewers end up winning. McGill gets save number 5. Peguero and Hudson both got holds. They're both their 5th of the season. So Brewers win, and then we go to the rubber match.
Yeah, so looking at it, I know Trevor McGill gave up a home run. He's a power pitcher. Guys that have that super fast, high velocity pitches, they're going to give up some home runs.
Yeah.
We saw it with Josh Hader. It's just going to happen sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on McGill. Now, before this game, Owen Miller was called up. Rhys Hoskins was placed on the 10-day injured list. He's originally, they said 2 to 3 weeks. Sophia today said 2 to 4, but it's going to be somewhere in there. And as long as Jake Bauers is playing well, and if Tyler Black gets called back up, if Owen Miller's playing well, or if Owen Miller's not playing well, and then they do bring Tyler Black, however these guys play is going to give Rhys Hoskins more time if they are performing well.
Agreed.
So I'm not going to be rushing Rhys Hoskins back if any combination of those three are playing well. Now, this obviously, you said, is the Sal Frelick game, his first home run of the year, the 2 stellar defensive plays. But let's talk pitching. So I mentioned McGill already, but Joe Ross, what I would say is probably his 3rd best start of the season. He had a lot of good swing and miss stuff, just needed to finish some ABs. One of his better starts overall, 21 swing and misses on 91 pitches. That's 23.1% of his pitches were swung on and missed.
I like that.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. Now, he did have 1 walk, gave up 2 earned runs. But again, when you're talking about pitchers, you're talking about starters, guys that are giving you 4, 5, 6, 7 innings, Freddie Peralta 7, and giving up less than 3, maybe sometimes 4 runs.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say if you're between 3 and 4 with your ERA, I think you're a pitcher who's doing enough to give your team chances to win.
Yeah.
And that's what I want from the middle to the bottom of the rotation guys. Just give us a chance to win.
Yep.
Freddie Peralta is one of those guys that I think you put out there and be like, okay, go dominate.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm looking for from Joe Ross. Nor should it be. That's not what I'm looking for from Colin Ray or Bryce Wilson or even Robert Gosser or Tobias Myers. I'm not looking for those guys to be like, okay, go dominate. Let's win us a 1-run ball game today.
All right.
Those guys, I'm just looking, give us a chance to win. That's all I'm asking for from these players. Joe Ross gave the Brewers a chance to win last night, and they did.
Yep.
They're not all going to be 11-2s or 10-2s or 7-1s. Sometimes you have to win 4-3. But the great thing about it is that the Brewers can win 4-3, and like we saw today, they can also beat the shit out of some teams. So that's fun. They can win multiple ways. They can score multiple ways, which I'm going to still. One more game, you got to wait for the statistic. But Todd said, great job, guys. Go Brewers. In my opinion, the only difference between us and Dodgers or Atlanta is the consistency in offense night in and night out. And, yeah, money will buy that for you. So it's still the fact that Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman are all on the same team is just ridiculous. But that's the landscape of Major League Baseball. The Brewers, however, they did fleece the Dodgers for Brian Hudson.
I mean, don't look now, but the Brewers have the 6th most runs scored in baseball. Just saying, Todd.
20th round pick for another guy, probably going to be an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Or should be an all-star. I mean, it's kind of hard for middle relievers to get all-star nods. It's usually just starters and closers, but Brian Hudson should be an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Pitched another 2 innings, 0 hits, 0 walks, 3 strikeouts. If Brian Hudson comes into the game, you're not scoring. That's essentially how it's gone.
True.
I think he's given up 2 earned runs the entire season so far. Brian Hudson has been fantastic.
I like it.
And then Elvis Figueroa. Good for him to get a bounce-back game. He pitched an 8th inning, a 1-2-3, 2 strikeouts. Good to see Elvis Figueroa bounce back and get him back rolling because we are this close. If we can get Elvis Figueroa and Yoel Payamps both bouncing back, we can get the law firm going again of the Figueroa, Payamps, and Williams law firm. Although Brian Hudson might have something to say. He might be getting his law degree right now, and he might be joining the firm.
Bro, McGill might have something to say too, bro. I mean, Jesus.
All right, we got to think something rolls off the tongue nicely. The law firm of Hudson, McGill, and Williams.
I mean, we might. I mean, honestly, with everybody there, right? We might just have to start calling it the starting five instead of the Fab Five. Ooh, we got to think of a name instead of the Fab Five, like Michigan had. We got to think of
I kind of want to pit it now because like the way that Nicolay is coming up in Wisconsin, he's starting to get about as big as David Gruber. I think we're getting there. You got the David Gruber, you got the Fear the Beard. We might have to come up with two law firms and pit them against each other and see which one people would go for.
Hey, I'm a one call. That's all guy. I'm not switching sides, dude. I'm sorry.
Okay. We'll see. You get a red pill and a blue pill, and you take whichever one. It ends in Devin Williams and his disgusting changeup that's going to be back in the lineup soon. So,
yep,
excited for that pitch to be back in the bullpen.
Oh,
okay. Like you said, comes to today for the rubber match, playing for the series, looking for another series win, like the Brewers do. And again, you win 2 out of 3. You're looking at a 104 win season. Brewers record would be 96. So that's that. Todd, this question came up earlier. Michael asked the same question on Contreras' extension. Todd said, my concern is we will pay Contreras when he wants his big money in his free agency year. He's under team control until 2027. My suggestion for an extension is to just essentially replace his arbitration years and just say, here you go. You're here through 2027. Here's your contract. We don't have to do arbitration. And you're here. That's where I am planting my flag.
I'm with that. I mean, that's a great idea, honestly.
Today's game.
Oh, so we're going to talk about the home run derby, the mini home run derby the Brewers have today? Holy hell, dude. So I'm going to give one of my stats.
Okay.
Shout out to Joey Ortiz. He was on base 5 times today, dude.
Yeah.
5 times. What a freaking stud.
Keep using him the way you're using him. It's working.
Freaking stud. Gosser, 5 innings, 6 hits, all singles. 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 2 Ks. I mean, he was hitting a little bit more of the plate today than he was in his first initial start, but he was getting away with some stuff because he has crazy movement. It is what it is.
Pirates, to their credit, they're just a little more aggressive than the Cardinals.
Yeah, they were.
A little more conservative. Pirates a little more aggressive. There's ways to beat both, as the Brewers have done, as Robert Gosser has done.
Yep. So, that and I was going to say, that plays into the point of you talking about how he was absolutely pounding the strike zone, and the Pirates knew that, and they were like, let's not let him get ahead of us 1-0 or 0-1, 0-2 all the time, and let's take matters in our own hands, right? Because if you don't allow him to use the sweeper as a weapon, probably a good thing for you because you're not going to be getting a lot of hard hits off that. Just going to say.
Let me throw one thing out there, too, just on that subject of pounding the strike zone. Is it induces contact. So you mentioned the 6 singles, obviously, but you look at the top of the 5th inning where there was a soft ball hit, Gosser bobbled it, and ended up being a reach on error. The very next pitch was grounded into a double play.
Yep.
That's what pitching to contact can do for you. That inning started with a reach on error and it ended up being a 5-pitch inning.
Yeah, and he, because he doesn't have overpowering stuff. His fastball is 94, topping on at 94. Yep. He's a finesse guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love watching the finesse guys, dot the corners and work around up and down and change the speeds, and like that's exciting for me.
And movement.
As I feel myself turn into an old grandpa saying that, but I enjoy
you to a baseball purist. Welcome to the club. You're getting more into baseball, my guy. I like it.
I enjoy watching a good pitcher's duel, man. It's fun. But let's get right into this one
for our team.
Right. Let's get into this, right? So bottom of the 3rd, Contreras hits a homer to right off a changeup, 350 feet. Churio and Frelick were on base. They end up scoring. Brewers are up 3-1. And I got to tell you, man, it is damn near impossible to sit back that long to perfectly hit a changeup like that.
Yeah. That
is ridiculous. And Rock ends up saying it on the cast, and he goes, I mean, that thing goes completely straight. I can't believe you hit it like that. I mean, you got to sit back. He's like, what doesn't this guy do? And I'm thinking, like, that's a great question, honestly. So still in the bottom of the 3rd, Sanchez has to one-up Contreras and hit one 370. Ortiz was on base one of his 5 times. The Brewers are up 5-1, and all of a sudden, you get that feeling, and you're just like, oh, this one might be one of those days, huh?
Yeah.
So then, bottom of the 4th, Frelick ends up hitting a homer to left center, 380 feet. So these things are just getting progressively longer and longer every single home run. His first career Oppo Taco.
Yeah.
And of course it comes off a lefty. Of course, right? Right? And that's where Tyler and I go, baseball, right?
Baseball.
Like, why
you got one
wouldn't
lefty. You got one lefty. It's like you have a left-handed pitcher starting, and they have one lefty in the lineup, and it's like, God, that guy hit a home run off me too.
And
Really?
opposite field, of course, right? Of course.
Well done, Sal.
Yeah. So then you get to the bottom of the fifth. Ortiz, who has the home run stroke now, he got off the schneid. He hit one, and all of a sudden he's just like, yeah, so I'm going to hit
This
like
is
50
fun. I
homers
should do this
year.
more often.
Right. He hits a homer to left, just a solo shot, but 425 feet. Okay, so now we're talking. Okay, so that's some big boy power right there. Or you thought. Because we get to the bottom of the sixth. Jackson Chourio fucking unloads. And
Yeah.
I have to put the F word in there because he unloaded on a baseball, 441 feet. You saw that thing jump off the bat, and you're like, oh, yeah, that one's gone. Brewers are up
Yeah,
9
that'll
to
do.
1 at this point. Contreras tripled to right. Frelick ends up scoring. The score is 10 to 1 at this point. The score ended up being 10 to 2 to finish the day. Contreras was a double away from the cycle, and Frelick was a triple away from the cycle, which, if you thought about it going into the game, you would think it'd be flipped, right? But I'll take it either way. 2 guys, 1 hit away from the cycle. Now, do you want me to give my stats on Contreras now or wait?
Can I just throw something really quick out on Contreras and Frelick? Because at one point they batted back to back, and the left-handed pitcher sliced the ball down the left field line for a double,
Yeah.
and then the right-handed hitter hit a ball down the right field line for a triple. Just that's what the Brewers are doing.
Yeah.
They are using the entire baseball field
Yeah.
with all of their hitters.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, outside of guys like Gary Sanchez, who are like literally just here for power, like everybody can use the whole field to a degree.
Yeah.
That sucks to defend against.
It really does. I mean, think about guarding a guy that in basketball that's literally just a guy that drives, or a guy that just shoots, or a guy that can shoot and drive. I mean, which one would you rather have?
Exactly.
So I'm going to give you some stats. Today was the 6th 3+ hit game for Contreras. That's impressive. He's on a current 9-game hitting streak. He's on a current 23 straight games on base streak. 23 straight games on base. That's incredible.
I think that's the longest active streak in baseball right now, too.
Yes. He has 22 2-strike hits, which is 3rd in the NL. Ohtani and Betts. I mean, those are good names to be by.
Right.
Sucks that they're on the same team, but both those guys can rake, and obviously our guy can rake too. I think, if I remember correctly, Bryce Terang was 4th. So the top 4 is 2 Dodgers and 2 Brewers.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct, because they said that on the broadcast today. That is correct.
Yep. And he has 18 multi-hit games, which is 1st in all of baseball. And some guy had the audacity to put him 4th in the NL MVP race. After everything I just told you, and the guy's leading baseball in batting average. He plays every freaking day. He's almost at 80 consecutive games played. That is unheard of. Now, take into account he's a fucking catcher.
Dog,
unheard of.
Listen to me. When I tell you that I saw that Ellie De La Cruz was listed ahead of him,
yep,
I'm going to say bad words if I let it fly. It's inexcusable. Yep. Ellie De La Cruz does not belong above William Contreras in anything if you're talking about an MVP discussion.
Nope.
William Contreras has like a batting average that's like 80 points higher than Ellie De La Cruz's. But Ellie De La Cruz steals bases. Ellie De La Cruz's team was also expected to win this division, and they're in 4th.
Ooh. Ouch.
So how much value is he really providing? I get that it's a team sport, but really when we're talking about good teams with good players and William Contreras being among or the leader in a lot of statistical categories ahead of Ellie De La Cruz, Other than stolen bases and balls thrown 99 miles an hour from shortstop, Ellie De La Cruz does not belong above William Contreras if we're talking about the best players in the National League.
So then add this in there, right? Think of all the injuries the Brewers have had. Yelich was hurt, second best offensive player on the team. So he was basically left out to dry, quote unquote. We've had 6 players make their MLB debut already this year. 6 players already have made MLB debuts for the Brewers alone. We've been hit by the injury bug. So I don't want to hear no excuses for Ellie De La Cruz. Contreras is carrying.
Yep. Oh, but the Cubs are dealing with all these injuries.
Don't
Still
care.
in second place.
Yep. Don't care.
Nope, don't talk about the Brewers. I will give MLB Network credit. They've been talking about the Brewers.
As they should.
But ESPN, Yahoo, nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. No, let's just keep talking about the Cubs. Maybe the New York Post can talk about the Yankees a little more and not, discuss anything else.
They can. ESPN can talk about the Cubs being in second place all year. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so you mentioned Gosser already.
Yep.
Before this game, Chris Roller was called up. Oliver Dunn was sent down.
Yep.
And Chris Roller has been batting .250 in AAA this year. He did bat .364 in AAA last year after he was acquired by the Brewers in August. So I think there's, it's not just, he's batting .250 in AAA. Why is he being called up? Like, just a somewhat slow start. But a couple things. First of all, Gary Sanchez needs to have flowers given to him. 2 more hits off of a left-handed pitcher today. He continues to kill left-handed pitching. When people were asking in March and early April, why did we sign this guy, DFA Gary Sanchez? He's here to mash lefties. That is the reason he's here. Anything else that he does is gravy. If he's throwing guys out as a catcher, if he's giving William Contreras days where he can just bat and you can keep his bat in the lineup and he can play catcher as your backup catcher,
yep,
gravy. If he hits anything off of righties, gravy. He's here to hit lefties. Coming into this game, his OPS against lefties was 1081. And he hit a home run and a single off of a lefty today.
I like that.
Some people owe Gary Sanchez an apology.
I agree.
And also just be patient for more than 2 weeks of a baseball season that's 162 games long.
No,
Tyler,
not
talk a bunch of shit after 12 games. That's
hard. That's hard, Tyler. People can't do that.
It is. And that's true. I get what you're saying, but that is true. It is easy to be negative. That is just genuinely, where biology takes us. Because, 300 years ago, it protected us from predators, but we don't have that anymore. So you can be, thoughtful.
I agree.
Just maybe do a little bit of research even. Maybe, just maybe, watch this show on Wednesdays once in a while and listen to some guys who will give you that statistical information.
That's the best idea you said.
I like that idea. Yeah, I know some guys.
Me too.
Okay. Martin Perez, the Pirates pitcher today, the left-handed Pirates pitcher. Something the Brewers have struggled with as a team over the last few years. So why bring in a guy who mashes lefties? I don't know. Gee, maybe to strengthen a weakness. He had allowed 3 home runs in his previous 8 appearances. Appearances, not the previous 8 innings, his previous 8 appearances. The Brewers almost tripled that number today. Originally, I had that the Brewers doubled his home run total in the first 4 innings of the game. Then I had to cross it off and put that they had 4 home runs in 5 innings. Then I had to cross that off because they had 5 home runs in 6 innings. And he didn't even get through the 6th inning. He didn't even record an out in the 6th inning.
No.
The Brewers' 6th inning went single, home run, double, triple, walk, and then the inning was finally under control.
Oof.
That's tough.
That's tough.
That's a bad day at the office for your left-handed pitcher, Pittsburgh.
It sure is.
Now, I'm going to leave you with this last stat, the one that I've been teasing for a solid hour now. the Brewers being able to score in multiple ways. So we've talked about being aggressive, that it gives you chances to score runs in other ways, stealing bases, taking extra bases, taking some chances when running. Now, Rhys Hoskins was thrown out at home plate. That's one of those things where you only hear Jason Lane's name when guys are getting thrown out. Not to mention, things contextually like Nate Burleson, not Nate Burleson, that's not his first name. That's a wide receiver that used to play for the Lions. Alec Burleson is the Cardinals' weakest outfield arm.
Mm-hmm.
There's also 2 outs. So instead of expecting or hoping for another hit, which even on a successful batter gives you a 30% chance of success,
you
send the runner against the weakest arm in the outfield. That's what you do. Those are things you do in baseball.
Yep.
That's just a baseball thing. That's one of those things where people like to go online and be like, you don't know baseball, you don't know ball. No, that's actually a knowing ball thing. If there are 2 outs, you send the runner, especially against the weakest arm in the outfield. You do that 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
And he's probably safe 8 or 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
It's just the one. Willie Adonis did get thrown out at third in a game the other day. Probably a bad decision. But again, when your team philosophy is to be aggressive, you have to accept that sometimes it's not going to work out for you. Now, what I'm saying about this, the Brewers can win games multiple ways. They can score runs multiple ways. The Brewers are one of the only teams, I believe it's just them and the Phillies, that have 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in the National League. But there are 8 teams that have hit 49 or more home runs as a team. The Brewers are one of the 8. 6 of the 8 have a hitter that has double-digit home runs. The Milwaukee Brewers and the Philadelphia Phillies are the only 2 that don't.
Yo.
The Brewers and Phillies are tied at 50 home runs. They're tied for 5th in baseball with 50 home runs as a team. Neither team has a double-digit home run hitter.
That's interesting. That's the Phillies series and everybody's talking about them because they're a big city. That's going to be fun stuff, man. Milwaukee versus Philly is going to be fun.
You know what? As far as Philadelphia goes as a city, I don't like it, but I respect their baseball team.
Yeah, and I will say they have some great crowds. They have, when you ever see those videos on YouTube and stuff where they show like the best baseball playoff reactions, Philly's got a good crowd.
Yeah. They just need Eagles fans to tone it way down and 76ers fans to tone it down.
Wow.
It's still Philadelphia as the town. But like I said, I respect their baseball team. That's how I feel about the Cubs too. I respect your team, not your fans.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. So the Brewers, between now and next Wednesday, we will have just 5 games. Today we had 7. Next week, Wednesday, that game is at 5:40, so that'll be after the show next week. So we're going to have 3 games against the Astros, who just had another player suspended. He was suspended for 10 games today for having sticky stuff in his glove. So shocker that the Astros were getting caught for trying to cheat, but, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then we will have 2 games against the Marlins. So I'm looking, out of those 5 games, I'm looking for 4-1. Take 2 from the Astros and 2 from the Marlins and come back with a 4-1 week and just keep winning series. That's what I'm looking for from the Brewers.
So this next road trip that they're going on is going to be 9 games in, 10 days? 10 days or 11 days, I believe. So it's the only 3-city road trip that the Brewers have. It's the longest road trip of the year for them. So get this out of the way right away in May. I love that. Last year they had 3-city road trips.
It's not a crazy one either. Like they're going from Milwaukee to Houston, and then Houston to Miami to Boston. So it's not like they're going, east, west, central, west,
Yeah, they're starting down here, they're staying down here, they're working up, and then they come back home. So I like that. Yeah. That's nice. I agree with that.
Just making a backwards L for the 3 cities they're going to go into.
And the Red Sox, if James is still here, the Red Sox are still are playing some good baseball too. But I'm going to say 4-1 as well. I'm going to say 4-1. We gotta take advantage. We were looking at the schedule. We were saying that, last week played the Cardinals, play the Pirates, 2 teams under 500 playing bad baseball. We're going to play the Astros. Astros are playing bad baseball. Marlins playing bad baseball, and then we end with the Red Sox, who are playing some pretty decent baseball right now, scoring a lot of runs. But
Yep, they're decent.
let's just win 2 out of 3 every time. Come back home, nice cushy little lead in the NL Central, and then we'll be live on Patreon for the second game of the Cubs series.
Yes,
and
sir.
we could just boo Craig Counsell the whole time.
So that ties in. So that's it for today's show. Like Jake just said, May 28th, that's going to be our next Patreon watch party. We will be live before the Cubs game, 30 minutes before game time, have our own whole pregame show worked out. We'll have tons and tons and tons of information. And for people who are still watching right now, for people who are going to listen in the future, if they're going to listen tomorrow or Friday to today's show, this is something that the more of you that subscribe to this Patreon that can help us grow what we are doing and help us monetize a little bit more, that the more that we have that, the more that we can do of things like this.
Yeah.
So we can dive deeper into a game by game look at these baseball games. And when we get into the fall, and we can do this with football games and basketball games and baseball games, college and professional, it's just something that we really believe that we can make a difference as far as Wisconsin sports are concerned.
Yeah.
And that's what our goal is. So the more that people are coming to us and interacting with us, and like I said, if we can get more people subscribing to us, that we can focus more on this and give more information and help create a more informed fan base that talks from facts first, not feelings, that we can represent Wisconsin sports and Wisconsin as a whole better.
Agreed.
And people just thinking that we're drunk idiots that just complain about things like runners, batting with runners in scoring position and saying the Brewers are trash at it, saying that they're literally trash with runners in scoring position, despite at the time of that comment that the Brewers were still 5th with runners in scoring position.
And then, complaining about not scoring runs when literally, this is how easy this is. Look at. So I open my phone, right? And I go to the ESPN app, right? I hit the standings, right? You hit that one. You go to overall. There's overall right there, right? You hit that one. And then you hit the differential one, right? And you see that. And the Brewers are, 2, 4, 6, 7. They're 8th in differential, right? So that's pretty good, right? And then you go over to the RS. RS stands for runs scored, okay? And this is the whole Major League Baseball, right? And you're going to complain about runs scored, right? Yeah, look at that. Would you look at that? We're second. We have the second most runs scored in Major League Baseball.
I love that.
That is crazy that you're crying about something and sounding like an idiot on the internet, which you should not do. So, I mean, that's crazy. Second most runs scored, and you're just bitching about not
that
scoring.
Probably doesn't even add in today when they scored another 10.
Yeah, it's wild. Which that reminds me, I still got to find that stat.
Okay. But again, I mean, the more that we can focus on this, the more that we can spend into it, the more we can do, more people we can reach, and we can move on past things like recency bias and small sample sizes. Reggie said the Brewers look great today. Absolutely, they did. They look great over the last week. At times, in little sections, they didn't look great. But a 5-2 week, talking winning 5 out of 7.
Listen, people have this mindset of football, right? Because one game happens every week. If you take baseball and go week by week, just like you do with football, you could change Reggie's comment. I'm not talking shit, Reggie. You could take Reggie's comment and say the Brewers look freaking great this week.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And it doesn't, and, as we talk about zooming into games, that's a thing. But I just want to do 5 out of 7 games is a 7-14 winning percentage.
Bro, that's nuts.
That'd be 115 win season.
Oh. Jesus.
The amount of complaining that people have done over the last week of Brewers games. That pace over the last week, from last Wednesday to today, would put them on a 115 win pace. Okay, so the last 2 things that I want to throw out here. One is we were talking about the Brewers being able to use all fields as a team. That is definitely something that is factual. So I looked at it. The Brewers are 9th in opposite field percentage.
Love that.
So they're in the top 10 in opposite field percentage in baseball. Reggie said he's just trying to contain himself talking about the Packers schedule. We'll probably talk about it more on Tuesday when we do our defensive picks. We'll talk about that when we're doing a Packers-centric episode. Last thing I'm going to leave you with is a Jackson Churio statistic. According to Sarah Langs, for players to have 5 home runs and 5 stolen bases in their first 39 games when they were age 20 or younger, since 1901.
Oh, God.
There are 4 names on this list. It's Jackson Churio, Fernando Tatis Jr., Carlos Correa, and Ken Griffey Jr.
Damn.
Jackson Churio is on a list with Ken Griffey Jr., Carlos Correa, Fernando Tatis Jr.
Those are names you want to be on lists with. Just so people understand.
Those are insane names to be on a list with.
I like that.
So, other than that, we will see you Tuesday. We will be back with our defensive picks. Other than that, we will be back next Wednesday with more Brewers baseball. And for anybody wondering, I know we've had a couple conversations about it. Jake and I are in the works on planning our Bucks off-season content. We're going to be looking at our goals for the off-season, free agents, trade ideas. Draft is definitely something we're going to try to get a little deeper into this year like we've done with the NFL.
Yep.
So that is all coming. That's probably going to be a little more towards like early June when the basketball offseason really starts to ramp up a little bit more and some more teams are eliminated from the playoffs. But other than that, Jake, I will see you Tuesday night. Thanks, everybody, for watching.